Hey everybody, it's Rowdy Meyer again. And recently there was a zoning meeting, and it actually preceded the commissioners meeting that we released just a couple days ago. But I thought I wanted to get the zoning meeting out too. And the original plan was to do that meeting and the follow-up meeting, which was to be last night at the same time in this video, so you guys could see what the proposals were, what changes were made, and as far as the people speaking up, what happened. I'll tell you a couple things on this though. So I'll actually read some of the major points to everybody, but a couple things that I want to point out real quick is, first of all, I want to highlight Kate. Kate is, in charge of that department. She's the department that you'll go to get a building permit. And I just want to point out that, I'm quick to pounce on someone and to pounce on things for violating liberties. But at the end of the day, she's been nothing but professional. She was organized at the meetings that I attended. She was prepared for us. She was nice, and she was willing to have a conversation. And so I know it's got to be very, very hard for that department being pushed in several different directions. But I'm quick, to point it out. But at the same time, we have to be quick to acknowledge and say good job. So I just wanted to publicly say good job to Kate, because again, it was very professional, and she was willing to listen and willing to have a conversation. As I mentioned, we were going to do two videos in one. But unfortunately, last night we went down to the commissioner to the zoning meeting. And this is where they were going to adapt the changes after the first meeting. And unfortunately, the board members, not all of them showed up. They didn't have a quorum. And when you hold a meeting in like a board of directors or thing, I know I said on lots of them, right? But when you hold them, you have to have the majority in order to actually have a meeting. That's called quorum. Anyway, they did not have quorum, so they had to adjourn the meeting, and so all of us drove down there, sat there, waited there for there not to be a meeting, which I think is very unprofessional at the least. If I understand stuff happens, but I wasn't super happy about that. Anyway, the proposed amendments that you're going to hear about, and I'm going to talk about A1 agricultural district, and there's a lot of other ones you'll be able to hear through the meeting. But the first one is temporary use or structure. And their proposed recommendations are a use or structure when used as a temporary dwelling on improved or unimproved real estate, which is of impermanent nature, incidental to construction work, and is used for no greater than 18 months. Such structure must be removed from the premises at the end of the permitted period or at the end of the construction period. So basically, if you build a temporary house while you're building your house, you have to disassemble that temporary house, or you have to remove it. It is not just a house, right? As I continue, the structures to include, but are not limited to, prefabricated sheds and cabins. People are moving to tiny homes. People are moving towards those kind of things. A recreational vehicle or a camper, a tiny home, or a shipping container. The next thing you guys need to know about is on section 3, temporary structures incidental to construction works, but only for a maximum of 18 months from the application approval, unless the renewal of the permit is approved by the county commissioners. Basements and cellars are not to be occupied for residential purposes until the building is complete, subject to Northeast Kansas Environmental Services septic and lagoon approval. The question I was going to ask in the meeting, had they had it, is, there's a lot of other ways out there to deal with sewer besides septic and lagoon. They have composting toilets, they have, different types of systems. And I know that Northeast Kansas Environmental Services has some stuff on those things, but again, I didn't get an opportunity to do that. I really think the big one in section 4 is intensity of use regulations, which tracks in this district shall be 3 acres and meet all county sanitary codes. So basically what they're saying is, typically right now, if you want to build a house and come get a permit, you got to have 20 acres. Now, in fairness, it's always been, or at least they say it's always been. I mean, always is such a big word, right? But they say that you can go in there and get a exception made and build on less than that anyway. All they're doing is moving the 20 acres down to 3s to make it easier. But my argument in that would be that if they have an exception, it gets published, and then you get a chance to go in and have a conversation, versus when they move it, you're not going to have any say whatsoever. It's just going to be moved. This will make it a lot easier for developers to come in and build, subdivisions and things like that in Jackson County. But anyway, this is a long video. It's over 2 hours long. I don't want to edit any of it because I think it's important that we don't spin what happened, that you guys see exactly what happened. So I'm just going to point out a couple timestamps for you guys. So at the 1 hour and 57 minute mark, this committee begins to try to leave. And at the 1 hour and 58 mark, they try to adjourn the meeting. Unfortunately, in the paper, the Holton Recorder, they had said that they would take public comment, and so they were called on it. They at the 159 mark said no. We were going to take questions the next week, and finally at the 202 mark, they agreed to let comments be made. So if you want to skip all the way to the hour and 57 mark, this is again where the comments come in. This is where they don't want to take comments, end up taking comments, et cetera, et cetera. But I encourage you to watch it. I encourage you to get involved, because at the end of the day, regardless of what political party you're in, regardless of any of those things, transparency in government's a wonderful thing. And I know their job is hard, and I absolutely want to be fair to the commissioners and to the these boards. But at the same time, they work for us, and it's we the people. So anyway, I hope you enjoy.
Who has the camera right there?
That'd be me.
Hang on to it, okay? You
For-
hang on to it? Hang
Or
on
what?
to
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Sorry. I don't want it falling.
Yeah.
You need it pulled back?
That's fine.
Okay.
At 2 o'clock. And just a reminder to everyone, this is a work session. It's close to a meeting. So we'll be going over the items that were mentioned. Article B, Article 5 definitions, Article 7, Article 7, 12, 13, 14, 7, again, 17, and 16, and 29. This is a work session, so we'll be discussing these different things. The formal hearing on this is next Thursday. So we invite any public feedback for the public hearing next Thursday. Okay. I think we're ready to get started. Okay. You go ahead and take the floor. And Planning Commission, if you have any questions, obviously, on any of the items in your packets, go ahead and bring them up. Did you want to bring something up?
Well, in reviewing the articles, that Kate had proposed, it seemed like there was a effort to standardize language. There were some other articles that had this same language that needs to be corrected. I would like to address them just for consistency.
Which articles?
You'll get a point on that.
Well, do you
Are
guys
we
just want to
planning on
start,
going
just
through
go
it
through the
front and back?
definitions?
Yeah.
Why don't we go through this in the order
Yeah, let's just start
that
with
is presented?
Definitions.
Go through this in order that is presented.
Do you guys have your books? You want to compare? Because the only thing is, the definitions that I have up, if they're new, they're obviously not crossed through the, like accessory building.
I don't mean to interrupt. Is there a way we can make that bigger so us in the back and read? There's a Zoom feature at the bottom right here.
Go to page width.
Thank you. When you get closer to that, might seem creepy to you. Thank you.
Alright, so page 4. Accessory dwelling, because of the possible option of doing the accessory dwelling unit, we wanted to put this C dwelling accessory below, because that would be that ADU option. Okay, so we had to figure out a way to, where do we put that, where do we direct people to go in those definitions. And we would include this accessory dwelling right here in it. Did you guys have a chance to look at the accessory dwelling portion of it? Would it be easier to go over that first?
That's in Article 29. Is that correct? Yeah. See Article 29.
Do you think? Want to talk about accessory dwelling, or, because some of the accessory dwelling stuff's gonna have definitions that are tied to that.
Right. Do you think we better go and do that now, or wait, do it as we come?
Maybe, I mean, because we can go through, I guess, just the rest of the definitions, and I'll point out where the accessory dwelling unit definitions are going to play a factor here. So, accessory building, the only thing that would be added is C dwelling accessory below. That would be for that accessory dwelling unit, that ADU proposal. Okay, same with that accessory dwelling. So, childcare, proposing to eliminate the up to 6, because it should be the Kansas Department of Health and Environment, their requirements, because childcare is an issue in the county, and having more people being able to do childcare options would be fantastic. So taking out that up to 6 and just letting the regulations through the state play a factor, because they have to be licensed and they're going to have to show proof of that licensing. So
License
that,
says how many kids they can have per person.
right, and I think it's more than this up to 6. So that's kind of why we flagged that.
And let them be controlled by KDHE.
Right.
Okay. I wonder why you did that, struck out.
And we added this language in here, subject to Kansas Department of Health and Environment licensing requirements and approval. Same with the child care center. Struck out the up to 10. And that had language in there already for Kansas Department of Health and Environment licensing and approval. Their definition had and educational activities in it. So I figured that would not hurt to have that in there. But I don't know if that's limiting or not.
So basically, your 3 definitions here reflect KDHE's
Yeah.
guidelines.
Yeah, like child care home, that's from their website. Because we didn't have this, that's why it's all yellow, because that's new. We don't have that in our regulations right now, the definitions. just opening that up for more options for people. Any thoughts, considerations on that?
I like the language.
Conditional use, we don't have a conditional use definition in there. And that was just used from other regulations, and look it up online, that's what it says on conditional use. Use that is permitted subject to compliance with a set of conditions or requirements set forth by the county commission by way of the planning commission recommendation. I think we had special use in there, I don't think we had conditional use.
Yeah, 33 is developer, isn't it?
Somebody said they found special use in there, I think that might be one that we, yeah, special use, that wasn't in there either. Okay, so conditional use is now in there, definition. Dwelling accessory defines an accessory dwelling for that accessory dwelling unit, that ADU was being proposed. So this is used from one of the other counties, is 30%. When I was doing some figures, that was a pretty decent size for a single bedroom, single bath kind of little unit. Was 30% of the principal dwelling. So I didn't know if you all had additional thoughts on that. You thought it should be 50% or less, or you thought 30% is a good number?
That's a point that Kate wanted to talk about. Obviously, people have different sized houses, normal. But if someone has a 1,200 square foot home, then the maximum accessory dwelling they can have is 360 feet, square feet. On that. So what I talked to Kate about was that 30%, should we think about, maybe reducing that to 40 or something? Maybe not 50, but 40 or something, a bit, something higher than 30. Just to address those situations where you have a relatively small houses that are already not a 2,000 square foot or 1,500 something. Obviously, if you've got, if someone has that right at home, then 40% is going to be a lot.
And this really came up, and I kind of talked to you guys about it, had a lot of inquiries about either building onto houses or aging parents and getting them closer to the kids, or kids closer to the parents. And there aren't many options if you have over a certain, under a certain acreage on your property, kind of limited, or having to rezone, or, you know, it just allows more flexibility for families, I think. Because we do get a lot of those, and we do have a lot that we've seen some non-compliance because people just bring in sheds or build something or do additions into their garage to accommodate. So seeing that more and more. So I kind of feel like there's probably a need for that. So that's why the accessory option.
The other option is that this is a small use of 35. But so if you choose to build a large home, you're not talking about 9,000 square feet.
Could you base the percentage off of square footage?
Scale.
Yeah. So 2,000 square feet and above, 30%.
Yeah, I mean, probably.
Yeah.
not right. You know, somebody's got a 4,000 square foot home, and you build 30%,
Isn't that one of the?
you got a house bigger than mine. You know, so, you know, there ought to be some kind of split there where you can restrict it for a single purpose use. But yet be, like you said, in case somebody is smaller, 2,000 square feet, it's not very big, 30%, 60s. Yeah, there'd be something. That, or maybe they can get a special use. I don't know.
So my only concern with the special use, because we have some of those special use, it was the after the fact special uses, and those special cases have already sold, and I'm trying to get the new owners in compliance, which no contact. So a special use makes it more difficult to keep people in compliance on their properties when you put those kind of restrictions. So if there's something that is a good balance, that's why this accessory dwelling. That doesn't, it also doesn't limit people from doing additions onto their homes. Okay, this is
A separate.
a separate detached unit.
Right.
You could have a pretty good setup, at a high percentage, a higher percentage with a not to exceed size.
Not to exceed a certain square footage.
Yeah, with a square footage limit on it.
A big flat way to do it. So flat way to do it, everybody knows what size house.
So if you, yeah, just putting a,
Well, if we're gonna do that, then to protect people that have a smaller primary residence, you're gonna have to raise that percentage to 50%, not to exceed.
Yes.
What he's talking about is no, there's no percentage, just really flat size.
Yeah.
That's not-
Oh, okay, yeah.
So that size will apply to everybody, no matter what size.
And then you
dwelling
can,
is you're building.
you already have the word detached secondary dwelling, so that covers that.
oh yeah, that keeps it simple for permitting purposes too.
You know, you could, that's one way out of it. Seems to be reasonable to me. And if you had a smaller home, you could have an opportunity, and that's fairly size.
So that is some size.
Yeah.
What's the fair amount of square feet for a single, you need a bedroom, bathroom, kitchen, front room, something, so.
That's why the little sketches on,
And
and
the rest of them is-
and this is for you all, so you can see what I have attached in your packet.
You can see a two-story difference. So it's like, yeah, really.
So Pike County limits theirs to 800 square feet or 75% principal dwelling, whichever is less. I would say we're more similar to Pike County than we are to City. Heard it shown.
If you look at standard, like detached garages, 25 by 25, 25 by 30 kind of size. Like this one here is a unit over a detached garage. thinking 800. I mean, that's,
Say if somebody in the wheelchair, they're not gonna put two spaces on the board.
Right.
And look
Looking
at
at, looking at like what Pot County has, like what Steve said, that 800 square feet, the examination, that's all one, you know, on one level, so to me, 800 square feet is a pretty decent number.
Consider pushing next week.
Well, I like the way they have work back there. Easy to move.
75%. So they're gonna get a.
Whichever is less.
Oh, it's. So that was the state of.
Still
a
stay.
huge house, so
Yeah.
building 75%. Yeah,
So the 800 is like a ceiling.
right. That's what I mean, I think, Steve, right, I think the limit 800 square feet or 75%, principal building, whichever is less, is a good way to go. Good way to put it.
Something we,
800 square feet. Some kind of visual, 800 square feet, is that,
40 by 20,
no, that'd be 1,600, wouldn't it?
800, 40 by 20,
40 by 40, I say, is it?
no, 40 by 20.
20.
Oh. Yeah. That's pretty good size,
You can leave it on the occupied. Principal dwelling.
Is that something, you know, this could have been sort of 800, 75%?
And then after square footage, whichever is less. Footage. Owner occupied principal dwelling, and after square footage for the common area. After footage, yeah. And then just type in whichever is less. I like that. It's pretty close. Most people are gonna go with 800. Yeah.
Square one.
Yeah. So even if they have a 1,000 square foot home, 75% is 750, that still allows them to go 800. No, it's be 750, you're correct. You're correct, I'm sorry. It's less. Yeah. Okay.
and that is intended to not be a separate unit at all, not intended to be rented out. Not be an income property. All right. use definition. We obviously have those now, we just haven't ever had a definition.
Right.
Everybody good with that? Temporary use or structures. So this has been a compliance issue as well.
I don't think you need that hyphen on real estate. There you
Oh, it likes it that way.
go. And you can click on it. Okay.
Um, So there have been, we have always kind of allowed people to, please, live in campers while they're building their homes. And that was always followed under the manufactured home. So on page 87. So this is the whole manufactured home section. And E, as an accessory use for principal residential building under construction or reconstruction for not more than 18 months. So the regulations allow for someone to bring in a manufactured home while they're building a house. The problem is the regulations also say that that manufactured home has to be on a permanent foundation, which to me is problematic for people to get that manufactured home off the property and all the expense for that 18 months to build a home. So it has never been clearly stated in the regulations about being able to live in a camper while people are building. That would also include those prefabricated cabins or sheds. Recreational vehicle, camper, a tiny home that is pulled in, or shipping containers that are brought in. It's something that can be removed from the property or its function as a residential structure while construction is going on, a home is being built. Makes it easier for that to transition or to be moved off. And that was never really clearly stated in the regulations, so. They would have to, by the regulations. That and single wides, they would have to get a special use permit. Has to go on a permanent foundation. You know, there are some more hoops to jump through, and more costly to people to have to do that. Plus,
We're talking about the current regulations.
the current regulations with the single wide manufactured
Trying to
homes.
address that for temporary uses. and
Right,
make it easier.
yeah. And some of the compliance issues that we've had. any thoughts on that, or do you agree with that?
Well, it says they can get a renewal permit. Takes a month.
Oh, that was the thing too. So we have had temporary uses where we have granted temporary use while a house was being built. That period lasted longer than 18 months. They applied for an extension, they were granted an extension for this time. When I brought that up, it was, can we have them apply for an extension and how many times? And it's, I'm gonna present it if you guys think that an extension would be a good option. We kind of talked about that too, that you all agree that an extension could be granted for that.
Yeah, I thought we talked about this in the last meeting a little bit. In case something acted odd or
Right.
to COVID-19, I can't remember.
You can see where if they had a storm, knock down the framing, you got to pretty much start over.
So. Should we put in there? Let's see.
We can't leave
Such
it the way it is.
structure must be removed from the premises at the end of the permitted period or at the end of the construction period, whichever occurs first unless a renewal of the permit is approved.
Well, me personally, I don't know how to do that. Say it was an RV or a camper that they're staying in. How do we tell them to take it off their property if it's,
Right, and in that situation, if they have their own, of course, people can have their campers on the property.
Can't be hooked up to power, water.
Can't be hooked up to lagoon or septic, it cannot be attached.
but also even like a shipping container. Would there have to be like,
That would have to be a proof that it's empty,
Right.
not empty, it doesn't have living space
right.
in it. And that would be we could come out, they could send us pictures, that kind of thing.
Got it.
So typically they could renew every time for a long period of time.
That's the whole, it's moving, it's on it.
Yes.
So we have created a new temporary structure application that it has an end date on it. I think when it gets to a certain point, I would take it to the commissioners and each one of those approvals, it would be their approval, not mine. Everybody agree with that? So. we're-
You're talking renewal.
Renewals,
Yeah.
like an extension.
What if somebody comes in and says they want to put a manufactured home up there while I build a new house for myself, but I've got an aging parent that I want to use as a pre-manufactured home and leave it on the property for them for later use, maybe 2 or 3 years down the road.
So that would be tricky. So they get a special use permit going through the appeals board for a hardship case on that. In this situation where they're bringing in a single wide, it would have to leave under these conditions and in the existing conditions on manufactured homes.
See, they're going to use this manufactured home as their own home while they're building a new house for
Yeah.
themselves. But they want to use this manufactured home for an aging parent or parents at maybe 2 or 3 years down the road, but they would not be removing it building on the property.
I would probably recommend, and if the accessory dwelling unit gets approved and that's all good, I would absolutely recommend probably that first. Before I say, hey, bring in a single wide, where you're gonna have issues.
I mean, there are a lot of people that are opposed to trailer houses
Right.
as opposed to
A little stick-built,
a stick-built house.
right. So I would, if that gets approved and that goes through and we have accessory dwelling units, I would absolutely encourage people to go that route. They will spend probably the same amount of money.
See, that other, when you put that other house on the property and leave it there, that's gonna require another septic tank and all that system also.
Yeah, and I spoke with Martha at Northeast Kansas about accessory dwelling units. Just because we have that option for people does not mean that they will be able to do that on their property. If they can't tie into their existing lagoon and they have to get a new septic or another lagoon, then they have to meet their setbacks and have the right soil for it and all that. So it doesn't necessarily mean that they're automatically going to get approved. We still have to get Northeast Kansas approval before we issue that permit.
Applies across the board anyhow.
Right. Even on additions. So, we're gonna put in here after such structure must be removed. On E. What do you think?
Removed from the premises at the end of the permitted period.
County Commission.
County Commission.
Does that cover it? I was trying to think of the typical ones that I see. Can anyone think of any? Anything else on that? section 3A1. That's not a whole new definition. Temporary structures. Incidental construction. Period of such work,
Speak up a little bit, too.
but only for a, and there's where it is, a maximum of 18 months from the application approval. So, take out maximum.
Could you leave maximum in there? Because that was, I thought we had said, that I guess I was trying, I thought we said 18 months was it, unless,
Unless you bring it along.
so 18 months is still the maximum, so should we put maximum, pending, approval, or, unless an approval is,
So leave that in there and then put something else in there about, is that what you want? How do you want to word that?
I would have gone in and copied the sentence. Just
I
type in.
know.
Unless we remove it right there. Unless we remove the permit, approved by county commission, just copy that and add it.
Yeah, just add that to it.
Comment, unless. Right there, you can't make it approve. Put a comment. There you go. Perfect.
That is the same. Also added in subject to Northeast Kansas Environmental Services subject to the approval. Structure, this is where I indicate the structure may stay on the property after temporary use only if it is uninhabitable. Documentation is required.
We can put out pictures.
Missing anything? Need to add anything?
Where you got the board commission, then you want the county,
Where do I have that?
right there. County commission. We talked about that during the comprehensive plan. To separate the commissions,
Right.
planning commission, county commission.
Is it,
Should it say,
is it should be
subject to conditions as the planning commission or
planning or county?
commission?
So who's imposing it? It's the planning commission, right? Isn't it?
Well, it says it right there in the sentence, the following uses may be allowed by special use permit when submitted, reviewed, and approved by the planning commission and subject to conditions as the county commission may impose. We approved it, they can change it.
Always do.
Yeah. Point, and we always work hard during the comprehensive plan to separate planning commission and county commission.
Make it clear which commission it is.
If you just say commission, you're not gonna know what you're talking about. And it's in every one of them, by the way. It's in every one of them.
Oh, just the board process.
Yeah.
So that's. So that's what we're gonna change up. Just add it in. And hit Control C.
Yeah, I do.
This will be all formatted. All right, intensity of use. So to me, this is kind of. To me, this is a big one.
Yeah, it is. That's gonna initiate development. That's a big change, and I'm all for that.
You're for this one?
Is,
Okay.
you betcha. That 20-acre restriction inhibits development.
Yeah, I mean, that's gonna cut down on some compliance issues as well. Because I do get, some deeds that the splits are not compliant, and then I have to put a flag on it,
Oh, yeah.
and
It's a headache. I don't know how you manage it.
Thoughts, concerns? This is also Shawnee County's, they have a 3-acre.
They also have what's called a 200-foot frontage rule in association with that 3 acres. And what it does is it prevents people from doing flag lots. You know, you got a 30-foot driveway that goes back to 2.8 acres.
What's the problem with that?
Site distance, access problems. You go out on Auburn Road, southwest on K4, west of Auburn Road, and there's a driveway every 50 feet, both sides. There's cars with hills. It's a problem. So they said you can have 3-acre lots, but you gotta have 200-foot of frontage. We may want to think about that, because we do have hilly country.
Okay, so A1 doesn't have any sort of frontage at all on it.
I'm just throwing it out on the table.
Rural residential, you start getting 80-foot frontages. So to me, that's restricting A1 greater than. And that, and we have a lot that are grandfathered in parcels.
I'm sure you can have some grandfather.
Not some, there'll be more than just some. And I don't think the likelihood, you're probably gonna have fewer people with little skinny driveways and 3 acres than you will having, because that's the expense of getting electricity out there, and if
Oh, I know.
you can't get rural water out there, that's that expense too. So the likelihood is less likely that that would happen, but they still have to get approval from Road and Bridge for their driveway.
Mhm.
So if there are site issues, they would be able to determine that
Okay.
prior to me issuing a building permit.
There's another concern about that, about the 3 acres. Two of them. One is, I noticed in lots of northern Shawnee County, that they're not 3 acres, I think they're one, some of them might be close to 3. But they're, just as you said, they're maybe 75 feet wide or whatever, and they go back 600 feet.
Yeah.
So there's all that extra land back there that is just basically abandoned land because of the minimum acreage being small. And that creates a problem for the future because they can't sell it off because there's no access.
They don't have
There's no
access.
room.
They would have to have access.
They have to have access.
There's no room to the back. There's no room for the back. There's hardly for their house in the front.
Yeah.
But there's no room for a second driveway if you're gonna split off this.
Well, then that's gonna be perpetual pasture, or it'll be a subdivision someday.
Which, it cannot be another subdivision because you can't get to it from that side.
What, you get it
If you come in from
somewhere,
the other side a mile away, that's,
Are you,
that's,
so
long
it's
as
a
they have
fear,
access.
that's
fear of
expensive.
landlocking?
You're landlocking. You're 200 feet wide, I'm suggesting that you make, is how that
Yeah.
to the rest. of
Okay,
the-
so what happens if you have this 40-acre parcel and they boom, 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 5-acre blocks across there, and then you have this little skinny entrance, and then you have all this land out there? I mean, or they have an easement on one of those 5-acre lots to get to that, you're landlocking that. So, I mean, it's,
You know, there's problems with that.
I'm more concerned about our existing requirements for A1 district and creating a new rule on
Right.
frontage on that when it doesn't exist now on frontage in A1. That would be my only concern.
That's a big step. If we can just go with the 3 acres, and then later on we recognize we've got a problem with flag lots, we can address it then. And go through all of it, from A1 to B3.
Because you've already created a problem.
Well-
You can't undo.
You can't undo what you did, but
You
when
can't.
you see it starting to develop in one area and that becomes an issue, just say between here and Dennis, oh, there's an issue, we need to see it develop. We don't want it spread throughout the county so we can change it.
That's changing the rules in the middle of the process.
Not really. The ones you got in, the ones that get, later have to have 200-foot frontage. But for right now, to get development and get our tax base up, I'd like to see the 3 acres just like it is. Get some homes built.
The other thing that would do is, depending on where those 3 acres are located, if they're near a city, that impedes that city's growth. So it forces the county to forever for the road improvements and everything else along that. Whereas if there's no impediments to the cities actually expanding into those areas, then you could actually go and they absorb the responsibility of who does the streets and who does all the other part of the construction, not the county. So this would place an extra burden on the county. Not that it was necessarily going to oppose it, but it just has some other considerations.
Yeah.
See, you're talking about the A1 district here, you're talking about the agricultural community.
Right.
If you just go down to 3 acres, I'm a little concerned about this 3-acre business. I don't want to see a house out here where I live on every 3-acre tract. If I'm gonna develop my property out there, I don't want a house on every 3 acres. Especially if they don't have, if they're gonna have a driveway over 50 feet, like Steve said.
3 acres is the minimum, right?
Yeah.
You could, anybody can buy, say they buy ground, they can develop however they want, right?
They're going to do 3 acres. They're going to get both sides of that land.
Well, I'm just saying, right, I see what you're saying, but I'm saying that's a minimum number. The tracts can be as large as whoever wants to develop, right? You don't want to do 10 acres, because I mean, it says 3 acres or larger.
Can you go back to the original?
Yeah, I'm just trying to organize.
I mean, they can buy 5 or 10 acres, 3 acres is the minimum. The problem with that rule is the 20-acre parent parcel.
20-acre average, so.
Yeah.
See, what you're gonna create is you're gonna create a city out there in the country, is what you're gonna do.
We don't have it now. We don't have it now. You have little developed areas like out at the 116 junction, 116 going south, you got a few houses there. You know. I mean, even on 198 road, all the way over to the highway, there's a house here and there. But they're not.
So the comprehensive plan was to preserve the agricultural community for Jackson County.
I understand that. I agree with that, Jay.
I'm just saying. If we're gonna conserve the agricultural community, we don't want to be creating cities out here in the countryside. We've got zoning for the cities. Let's develop the cities and save the countryside for the country.
So we want to leave the current language. Formal will vote next week. Leave this section unchanged. Is that what I'm?
I think so for now.
We'll go back to that. We have most of you in agreement or not, is that kind of split on that one,
On what?
that last 3 acres?
I see, and I think I agree with Delbert on that. I'd rather see the development closer to town rather than.
Or stick with the rural residential and subdividing if somebody wants to come in and develop an area.
Current regulations, correct?
That's the current regulation.
Yeah. Current regulation is if you have 40 acres, you can split off a minimum of 3, right? And you can't split the rest of it. If you have 20 acres, you cannot split it. If you have 12, you cannot split it. This was brought up because I had a violation that somebody split 12 acres. And now I have to flag both parcels. I took that to them and said, this is happening. How do you want me to proceed? Because I can send letters and say you're in violation and put a flag on it. And that's essentially all I can do. And the recommendation was to look at that 3 acre and give people the option.
I just think it has some consequences that I don't know if we want to have. If there's another way around that situation, obviously you get
No, I mean, it would have to be,
what the other choices are.
right, in this situation, it's I flag it, they try and come in for a building permit, and I can't issue a building permit for a house. Because the split was an illegal split.
We don't have to go with 3 acres, we go with 5 or 10, 20. You're gonna get anybody out there.
But to me, if people are planning on doing that, they need to look at having it platted, having it rezoned for that area. Because then they're thinking about, can they bring in rural water? Can they get electricity? Can they, all of those things have been thought out. Okay, so section 3, there's another one of those, Union County.
Reading the word county commission. So, I was trying to figure out what that meant.
That's just because it's oh yeah, it's in a couple places, that's why it's there again, so I just need to go in and find that. Verbiage to be added. Hang on, I know. So, here. Plus a renewal rate. We're adding this on all of those. It's going to be in several of those articles, section 3. Just like the special use, that verb is the same part.
Where were you on this one? Article 12, section
12, section 3. Article, well, we're gonna add, right? So Article 12, Article 13, Article 14, Article, they're gonna get the, unless a renewal of the permit is approved by the county commission, right? That is getting added into each one of those statements. And then in those articles, I'm also adding the county
3. Right.
commission. So that was it. That was the only portion that I had to add to that one, right?
Okay. back arrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, hit your undo button up there, bang, there you go.
What?
Go back up to 12. Where is that? Are you replacing? Page 31. Can you show more of that yellow paragraph there? Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking.
RC, well, temporary structures.
You know, this is temporary structures, incidental to construction work, or for the period of work basements and.
Right, that's why we're adding in more verbiage. I mean, yes, it's in all of those articles as temporary structure, but it doesn't specify
So you're replacing 12 entirely with this.
adding to it. What's in the book? Temporary
This
structures.
is what I got. That's all.
I mean, that's what you got.
Yeah.
Uh,
None of this did. That's what I'm looking at. I mean, where you at on Article 12? Resort.
all we have is the last sentence. Yeah, all we have is the last two sentences.
The structure match the other property.
And I know this is the Word document that I used, and it's just copying the same verbiage. So, 12 is temporary structures incidental to construction work, but only for the period of work, basements and cellars
Yeah,
may
no.
not be occupied for residential purposes until the building is occupied. Each one of those articles that has temporary structures in it, we are adding to it this verbiage.
Right, and I guess when I was doing this, I was going with your convention of striking out what was there and then changing the language. And this
They're
threw
really-
me a curveball.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I printed off all of
So I
this.
thought, well, maybe she's wanting what was here and then just adding
No,
a
I don't think
sentence.
that there's anything that's being deleted from that, right? It's just adding to it. I think all that same verbiage is in there. It's just, am I incorrect on that?
You're adding the
This-
18 months.
You're adding the 18
Everything else
months.
is.
Yeah.
is in there.
It's worded different, but See, the only thing we got was just the last two sentences. The structure may stay on the property.
I apologize.
I mean, I was just trying to
Like
understand.
7 copies.
Yeah.
I guess I should be looking at them, making sure you guys get that it prints off correctly. That
You're
is
fine.
bizarre.
I like that, that's fine.
I mean, yeah, you're right. Mine cuts that off too.
Yeah,
My copy and.
we're good.
Just read it where it's at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That's
10.
arrow.
Okay, so we have that same in this article, same special use thing, changing, adding in the county.
Right, there is a part. Commercial district. Yeah.
So I'm gonna have this down here. So
County Commission. Over here in this article. It's not on there. If you turn to page 50, John, there's several places this happens throughout. This is a good time to address it. On section 5, item number 2, it says recommendations to the governing body for final approval. We don't have a governing body.
county commission.
Exactly.
And it states that,
I would suppose we would want to change governing body in this document, county commission.
Where's that?
Page 50. No,
Gotcha.
governing body.
Gotcha.
It's all over this book.
governing body is.
Mm-hmm. I went cover to cover looking for governing body. The only thing I found was in definitions when it says, words or terms not herein defined shall have their ordinary meaning in relation to the context.
Governing body and definitions is the Board of County Commissioners of Jackson County, Kansas, unless otherwise identified. In the definitions. Page 8.
It's not trying to change all of the pages that is.
Page 8, governing body and definitions, the Board of County Commissioners of Jackson County, Kansas, unless otherwise identified.
Very good. I stand corrected.
Let's see, governing body.
This is more of a variance kind of thing. That would be the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Are you asking us if it's the, if we get the Board of Appeals, it's us?
That would only pertain to county right away.
Appeals Board? Appeals Board?
I think so.
You taking the role as responsibility for or even set up for the Board of Zoning Appeals.
In the comprehensive plan, it stated, do you remember that? The comprehensive plan stated that the planning commission does the special use, except for hardships or variances that would fall under the Board of Zoning Appeals. So we're trying to make it consistent.
Consistent.
So it's just a consistency with the
Yeah,
whole group comprehensive plan.
yeah. In other counties too, their appeals board, they don't do special use permits. Planning commission does.
Seems like it's broadening our footprint a lot.
Move it from one board to the other.
There's more responsibility for the planning commission.
Yeah,
Yeah,
takes on a lot of, yeah,
yeah.
puts a lot of on our shoulders.
We good? All right, accessory dwelling unit.
I'm not sure that we should be doing this without the county commission's approval.
We are
This,
doing this.
okay.
We are doing this with their approval. Especially accessory dwelling units, I took it to them because I said, this is what I'm seeing a need for in the county. And they said, draft some stuff up, present it to you all, we can discuss it. So, what other parts are?
So, the comprehensive plan was drawn up several years ago. And they apparently had community input when they assigned a lot of this responsibility to the Board of Appeals, zoning Board of Appeals.
But they didn't assign those duties to the appeals board. they assigned those duties to the planning commission. The zoning regulations were stated in the special use permits or the appeals board in those certain sections, the sections that we have been slashing through and correcting to make it consistent with the comprehensive plan and with the comprehensive plan laid out.
Comprehensive plan was signed by the county commissioners at that time.
Yep. And the new amended one was signed by them as well.
It just seems like we're absorbing a lot of responsibility here that maybe should not be necessarily assigned to this body.
Well, we just make recommendations.
I'm not sure that we should be making any recommendations. I'm not convinced of that. Maybe we should, maybe we shouldn't. I'm not necessarily convinced. If it says so in the comprehensive plan that the county commission signed it, I guess I need to accept it.
Have these discussions been shared with the county commission regarding special use, words of appeals versus, commission? Yeah, maybe there's no proper direction.
No. We all discussed it too, about the comprehensive plan and the role of the planning commission in there versus the appeals board's role.
Okay, that's 7 months ago.
Okay. So I just need to go back and look at this portion.
Yeah. You scroll up just a
Yeah,
minute.
hang on. I don't think that, none of that was changed, that was in there.
Changing the
I was adding,
30%.
yeah, all of that was in there. And then the highlighted is what is being added.
Question, the 30% that's being referred to,
It's the accessory dwelling unit,
here,
that is different than this, this is the,
this is different from the other 30%?
yeah, that is not, this 30% is a total coverage,
The lot.
the lot,
Yeah, that's what I was, that's what I was exactly clear.
not the 30% of the
This
total
this refers
coverage.
to the lot size, not to the size of the dwelling.
Can I go ahead and scroll up so I can copy and paste it? less.
You can take that grand out of
Parentheses over there.
Yes.
Does that sound right? Ah, Any thoughts on that?
How does number 7? And the preamble. I'm trying to picture both. Not a single accessory building is residence shall outside 30%. Or 40%.
So all of those buildings we were buying are not covered more than 40%. Because of this.
An accessory building can cover 30 and the main building covers 10. It's combined 40.
But that wouldn't happen because of the square footage limitation on the accessory dwelling unit.
That's what you're trying to.
I think it's clear you can't build accessory before your house, so.
That's the accessory is temporary. Correct.
But if it's temporary, then your house would have to be bigger by at least 25%.
Probably wouldn't be temporary, it would probably just be the main dwelling until somebody said, hey, I want to build this bigger house, and as long as it was bigger than that 800 square foot or 75% right, then we become the accessory building. And
Or maybe a issue. What if somebody lives in a farmhouse and they decide they want to build a new house on that property with the intention of tearing down the old house we have done? That mean if the old house is bigger than the new house, that throws all the thing off, right?
if they're planning on tearing down the old house,
Then
the
it's,
state's sign a thing saying that they're gonna tear down the old house within 6 months of moving into the new house.
yeah,
If they're,
there's ways of it. You guys work with it.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
there are all sorts of scenarios that could play out. Any thoughts or concerns about any of this, or are you all good with this?
I'm sorry, I'm just not quite understanding the, go back to the preamble right there, where it says no single accessory building in a residential residence district shall have more than 40%. Yes, permanent sentence. Another way.
An occupier.
Make it, you told me about that. So I was confused, is it 75, 800 square feet, that's what's the confusion. So this just refers to the accessory, once you add, so the accessory building cannot be 30%. It is the smaller of the buildings, and there may be a chicken coop, or maybe some sort of small barn or some other shed or something else. Obviously, all those put together, including the main dwelling, are no more than 40%. Right? The 30 is what is throwing me off.
Exactly, that's what I said
The
earlier.
rest of the sentence is fine, it's the 30 that I'm struggling.
The accessory building is 30%, and collectively it's 40%.
That is not mathematically possible.
It's not possible, because that means the main structure is 10%.
Right, yeah, so,
So they're referring to accessory buildings in this book.
to simply, I know that's the, under this section, what do we just take out? Make all, where it says all such buildings, make that's the first sentence, delete this, the entire sentence. Is there a need for the first part of that sentence?
I don't see any reason to call out the accessory building in the sentence. You just say collectively, all buildings shall occupy more than 40%.
Right, to start the sentence with all such buildings.
Single
That's
accessory
very, something worded.
building in a residence district.
Because when you're talking yard space, aren't you talking the amount that's left over after you take out setbacks, front, rear, and sides?
So the front, rear, and side yards are going to be determined by the primary dwelling.
Right.
Okay, so they're referring to all accessory buildings.
Yeah. So if you're saying you got, after you take your setbacks out, that's the buildable space that you have, yard space. Okay, you're saying collectively, all the buildings collectively cannot be more than 40% of
The
the yard space. The accessory building has already been established.
In the prior language.
Another
prior
language.
sections. So if we just had, we didn't slightly word it, so it says, let's take out the word such, so it's like all buildings collectively shall no more.
So we're taking out,
Yeah, take out to,
yeah,
take that out, yeah, cross it for now, just cross it out, so it's, remains the reference. Capitalize all. And take out such. Cross it out. And then, shall collectively occupy and building area.
in a resident district. All buildings in a resident district. Right.
Does that sentence, does the 40% that's in that sentence meet the 40% in the original sentence that you suggested? This does not change the 40% requirement in any way.
This was existing. This 30% is the square footage of the main dwelling, not of the lot space. So that's gonna be determined, I mean, every parcel is gonna be different, right? So that accessory dwelling, I don't see that that has ever really been an issue on most properties. You're gonna cover that much of the lot space.
Is the sentence saying what we wanted to? So
That's clear.
More clear.
That's clear.
So that's clear, not less clear. correct?
It is very clear.
Okay. Is it more?
Ready to move on?
Well, while we're cleaning up, I've got a couple of things, like on page 18. We talk about accessory structures and uses. When we talk about accessory buildings, that's where we don't have anything. See, we have accessory building. We're talking about accessory structures. And we have temporary structures.
So what are you asking?
Well, we already did temporary structures and uses, but we have accessory structures and uses that it only addresses accessory buildings and probably won't change that there.
Oh, yeah, I didn't do it.
Or change the word definition. Accessory building, accessory structure.
Just be structure.
You see where we're at?
Yeah, I was just trying to see if there was anything in the.
Accessory uses.
accessory building. No, I'm saying in the definition of building in our county regulations, in the zoning regulations, definition for building is a structure.
That's fine.
But I'm just not thinking.
I don't know if you can say the same. Then pretty good on the page. Are you good on it? Okay.
There's Article 29,
Yeah,
has accessory uses in that.
that's what,
It's accessory uses. An accessory use is regulated herein is permitted in any district with a principal use to which it is accessory is permitted. So each article may have accessory use or structure. No.
you want to get these more of these, or Article 19. It was not one of you.
I would say there are probably numerous little things like that. There's spelling errors, there are punctuation errors, there are,
Yeah. I mean, if you're changing the document, you want to be consistent, give it all to you.
We're just changing it right now for
That is, there'll be future changes.
The dwellings.
As they propose now.
Okay.
yeah. So that one. This was just put in there because it had the board of zoning appeals on it. I did a document search. But if we think that that one falls under the appeals board,
I would say so.
I'm tired. So,
This may not be needed, but obviously KDOT is in control of anything,
oh, yeah.
whichever word, state right of ways.
Yeah.
So the county public right of way, this refers to the county public right of way.
Yeah.
So you want me to have that in there?
Yeah,
Since
I
it's-
would.
Just for clarification.
County.
we're not taking the state's authority.
It was a county,
Right, I'm saying 16.
I can tell you a story of the storage people had posts on their property and leave a sign out over the fence. We had to send our attorneys out there and tell them, we're gonna cut it off if you don't.
Well, how do you want me to address those, the 3-acre thing?
We don't want to make that change. It's time.
Sold it out. 3 acre lots, 5 acre lots, and it does not sell. It goes back to the, taking all this stuff off. They got rid of it. Say that again. There's a section on 214, some multi for sale. And the people that have sell it.
Yeah, 214, okay. 75 and 214.
Understand it's back over territory, they have to have it, so.
Oh, because there was original, there was a subdivision plat on it.
Right.
I don't know that I have seen that plat, but if it is undeveloped for 5 years, it expires. So if they wanted, they could go through the whole process again and have the plat. So they could,
That's what I was thinking.
and the purchaser wanted to.
These guys really are the nature of their house. Finally thought out, cemetery.
So yeah, that one just split. So they can have, I think they could have 3 parcels.
More than that.
Well, that's all they could split at that point. I mean, somebody can have 80 acres and not be able to split it. We have one that's a 60 or 70 acre parcel that they cannot split because they split off the 5. So now the bigger neighbor, somebody bought that, but like, oh, we have 70, well, they can't split it because it's not a 20 acre average. So they can build on it, but they just can't split it again. So,
Unless they plat.
unless they rezone it. 75.
Somewhere I was reading in there that we had a moratorium on wind power.
No, we just renewed it.
Well, no, that's gonna be next Thursday.
Next Thursday. And probably as well as solar.
No, it's just one.
Just
Just one.
If we get what they do and have a moratorium on wind, how come we can't have one?
Questions for people who are not there.
Big one?
Questions for the county commission.
Yes, it is.
I also wanted to ask you all, I've got a couple of emails.
We just renewed this, right? And for
No, that's-
county,
No, we have-
That's Thursday.
That's Thursday.
Next week.
Is it on your calendar?
oh, we did that last month or something. Just talking.
So I sent you all an email on the Senator Thompson. Is it? How do you all feel about that? Do you want to set up a time? Do you want me to reach out for him to come? I mean, how do you want to do that? And when? Like, what kind of time frame? Are you wanting to do it during the day? You want it evening? I mean, give me some.
Probably the most flexible person here is.
Senator Thompson, is it?
Oh, man.
I can tell you an evening before for me.
Yes.
Is it, anyway, we can do it this next meeting? Next week, is it too late?
I don't-
Well, he's speaking, like member of the public.
I don't know that that has to be published. Is
We
it?
can amend the agenda that night. If he's available.
That would be kind of short notice, but. I can reach out to him and see what his schedule is like. You want to keep it though for our normal Thursday meeting?
I don't think he'll be that long.
You want to keep it for our normal Thursday meeting instead of having like a special
Right.
evening for it?
And I think it'll allow people to show up with any questions.
Yeah.
If we're gonna, I think if we open up the questions that we should, maybe look at, A, advertising it a little better. If the agenda's already out, probably shouldn't try to jam them into
Right.
next week.
Right.
To answer your questions and stuff. Right.
So I'll reach out and see, you know.
We're not
What
setting the
month or-
best rule of meeting at 7. It could be at 6, it could accommodate everybody else for that purpose. Because I sure don't want to come here at 7 and go home at 10:30. I wouldn't be opposed to meeting at 6 for that.
We don't know if we're going to do it until we have approval for it.
Yeah, but it feels
Shouldn't it be like twice a year? And well, I would propose that if there's not a board of appeals meeting that same night, that we could meet at 6. Just food for thought.
We will decide that next week because we can't, this is a work session. It's not going to be formal.
Well, what I'm saying is I'll reach out to him.
Yes, please. Yes.
Good. Any other?
So where we go from here, you're gonna reprint or
Yes,
the final version we just established?
yes.
Okay.
We discussed.
Plus we have an item on the agenda too. Next Thursday.
Do you want it in this kind of format where it's just the changes, I'm guessing, not the whole thing?
What do you mean, the whole book?
Right.
I thought that was coming out.
Just.
Yes,
just
that's
the
after the
changes.
approvals on this. Okay.
Just the changes. And then, and then once the county commissioners have approved it, and all the copies, then we'll get them signed. And our 3
Can I
agreement.
bring? Yes. One of these you will have tabs,
Yes.
comprehensive plan, bylaws.
All in one book,
All in one.
one year,
book.
oh. Can you put your subdivision regulations in there?
They are gonna be, they're in here.
They're in
my.
That's great.
Next Thursday,
That's when the road is at.
7 o'clock, and then
Yeah,
we'll.
we'll talk about September next week.
Okay.
Maybe that's it in the next week.
I will reach out to them soon.
Sounds good. Motion to adjourn? Good.
Is public after, according to the agenda minutes, or I'm sorry, according to the planning commission meeting calendar, it says that the public is invited to hear and express their opinion on amendments. Are we able to discuss those?
The hearing will be next week.
Right, but this is a event details planning commission meeting for Thursday, August 1st, 2024, published in the Holton Report. This is the public. As the public is invited to the hearing to express their opinion on the amendments. Is that the money that we have?
Yes. The hearing is next week.
They may have said that, I'm not. Yep.
We figured next week might be too late. Right. Because that's when you're gonna see. Okay. And that's. Can we say something? Or ask some questions? Do it quickly?
Well, it says it on this week's.
Hearing. This is not a hearing.
Mike, was that printed in the public notice in the Walton Reporter? I think that's the question that we asked. So that was in the public notice, ladies and gentlemen, I encourage you to follow what your public notice stated. Make it simple and easy.
Yeah. Yep.
Try to link it. Whatever for me to keep it up next week.
Okay. Hey, if you want to keep the computer on, we can use that as a prompt. Okay.
Well, they may want to call it some specific.
Just keep it up for, not, oh yeah, you might be referring to I remember you were looking for a clock.
Yeah, it's off on the wall.
One that everybody can see. So that one says 4:07 down there.
My clock is off.
But
This is on.
Right, yeah, that gives us something that everybody can see.
So it's not much.
Okay, we're gonna take comments for half an hour. Starting at the time there, 4:07, so we'll take comments for half an hour, total, not half an hour per person, half an hour total. Kate, we are actually going to need a sign-in sheet.
We haven't submitted.
Everybody sign it.
On what we discussed, or we just-
Yeah, on what we discussed, on the proposed changes.
Okay, guys.
Let's see, Kate, you'll need to get
The sign-in sheet out.
sign-in sheet, so we
No,
know.
it's right here.
There we go.
Okay, first person, I'm going to go in the order which people signed in. So Rex Larson, if you stand and speak, so everyone can hear you.
My name's Rex Larson, and I admire you guys for taking the time to listen to us and come up here, so thank you for letting us speak. I'm glad that we were able to. My main concern, I think, that the gentleman over there spoke about was the simple fact of the 3-acre tract being 20 acres, going down to 3 acres. I'm against it. I think some of the people here showed that by their applause. I think we need to stay, maybe not 20 acres, but sure not 3 acres. So I think that needs to be brought up for discussion. That's, like you said, Steve, that's an awful big step, go from 20 to 3. I think it would open up a whole lot of little cities around the county that maybe not know. The owner-occupied thing, the allowing people to have 18 months to build on the property, I think is a good thing. I think that's something that needs to be addressed. I think Kate's probably seen that a lot. People want to come in and do something, and they'll have a place to stay there, so I think that's a good thing too. And that's about all I have. Thank you.
Okay, Matt Devader.
Thank you. Matt Devader, I'm a taxpayer in the county here, a lot of you know me. First of all, I just want to thank all of you. You're all Americans, we're all Americans. You're all likely to care about the freedom of the American way and the founding of our country. There's people in this room who have served to protect that. I want to remind you that our Constitution is written to protect and guarantee these liberties and freedom. I would encourage this commission or this committee, as well as the other committees that have been, they're not elected. You guys are not elected. You're appointed. I would encourage you not to be courted by tyranny and the idea that somehow any of us have authority to tell others how they can live on their private property or what they can do. Certainly we need to figure out ways to get along together, but it'd be no different than me saying, hey, Steve, 2 TVs is too many. We've decided that the electric frequencies is dangerous for your grandkids, so you can only have one. Somewhere there's a line that we cross that affects each and every one of us. Or maybe some of you farm and I tell you, you can only plant the 12-row planter from now on or something like that. But how did the tax code get to 86,000 pages? Meetings like this, a little bit by a little bit by a little bit by a little bit. So again, I would encourage you guys that as we make some of these changes, these plans, let's think about what we're doing versus some fear, some far off thing that could happen. And I think one of you said something that could be addressed as something starts to pop up, not limit the freedom of others for fear of this thing. And then lastly, I just want to remind people, our U.S. Supreme Court last month made a decision that affects the law of the land. Regulations are not law, period. That's the law of the land. It's been decided and it's done. Regulations come through committees, there's civil code, there's no criminal code to enforce them. Laws come before legislative bodies such as the Kansas legislature or the U.S. Congress. And there's a rule in both the state and the federal constitution that says that. We need to remember that as we try to make regulations to limit our friends and neighbors and what they can do on their property. Again, I just remind you all to consider freedom. Yes, we don't want to have a bunch of shanty towns and stuff like that and 50 driveways on one road and causing accidents, but I think that there's other ways to address some of this other than limiting the freedom of others. Lastly, my phone number is 364-2018. I recommend any of you call me. We discuss any of these issues that are going on in the county, because as you all know, I'm running for county commission. I think it's important to hear from all the people here, because we have a lot of smart people in this county, and for too long, they've not been listened to. And I've noticed in this meeting that you guys were delegated certain things, but you can't do others, right? You brought up, well, why not, we talked about solar. Well, that wasn't told you to do that by the county commission. Who did they grant you the power? They didn't, right? So think about these things. And please, feel free to reach out, call 2018, my phone, 364. Thank you so much for what you do, for sacrificing your time.
I'm not certain exactly how to pronounce the next name, so please correct me.
Yeah.
Mikey Ransom?
My name's Mike, last name is Branson, Missouri. A couple of questions. In the ADU section, there was a call out for utilities not being metered separately. I was curious as to why that was.
I think it was more of a, it was one what other counties have adopted, and those not being independent units, that it is there for dependence on the main primary dwelling is it.
So
I
it's-
know that there are buildings that have separate meters than houses. It's just to keep from multi-families coming in and they have their own bill on that dwelling, and it's not gonna be a rental, that kind of thing.
The only reason I bring it up is it can be a potential safety issue, because if I have a large tract of land and I've built my house several hundred yards back from the road and it gets snowed in, right, and then I bring, let's say, my mother and my mother-in-law who's elderly in at the front of the property, I can't run power all the way from one end of the property to the other. Logistically, it's not possible, it would cost a fortune. Because the longer you run a power line, the larger your wire gauge has to get, it becomes, it's not feasible. So that would limit me putting potentially my mother or mother-in-law at the front of my property in an emergency to gain access. So let's say it's snowing, right? And she falls, hurts her hip or something, I gotta get her to the hospital. That's a huge danger, and that's a problem that I can foresee. So that's just an input from my part. The other input I had was that NEKBS does have a provision for alternate wastewater or waste disposal. It doesn't require a septic or a lagoon, and they're open to suggestions. So putting the verbiage in here limiting people to septic or lagoons, maybe that could be just relegated back to NEKBS for them to decide, instead of limiting it again here, because it does say septic and lagoons in several locations. And then another point of input, I believe it was section 127 that spoke about manufactured homes and trying to correlate manufactured homes to campers. Manufactured homes are regulated underneath, if I'm misspoken, just let me know.
So the only verbiage that we had for campers or allowing people to stay in campers while they build was in the single wide manufactured homes section.
Right,
That's where that verbiage came from,
okay.
not limiting.
There's a distinction in between a camper is not.
That's why this new verbiage is necessary, because then it clearly states campers and RVs, all right, where before it did not.
Okay, so what are the proposed restrictions on people living in a camper on their property then?
Just that it's temporary, that's the only way that it could happen.
So what is the reason for only occupying a camper temporarily?
What's the concern?
What's driving the concern to have temporary camper occupancy? Because another point of contention is nowadays a lot of people have been drawn to full-time camper living because it is expensive to own a house and property taxes are rising. So that's going to shut out an underserved part of the community that may look at living in Jackson County, they can no longer do so because now they're being forced to get a building permit and build a house within 18 months or go before the Board of Zoning Appeals and appeal, and then they're at the mercy of whoever that board is. And now they may reconsider even moving. So I think that having input as far as campers being temporary, I don't understand justification for that necessarily, especially in today's financial circumstances when it's hard for people to afford to build. It's difficult, and it could potentially take a lot longer than 18 months, and then that could put them in further implication on their property, and they could be resulted in fines and so on and so forth. So that's
The manufacturing drugs the sheriff's gonna get, right?
Exactly.
It's a crack house or a lump house.
Yeah, absolutely. That should be looked after 100%. So we don't want people coming in and getting meth labs and campers, and next thing you know, we're on an episode of Breaking Bad. That's not that should be looked after, but that shouldn't be, this shouldn't be used as leverage against that. That's the sheriff's job. And I think with my last comment would be about the agricultural A1 zoning dropping down to 3 acres. Has the rural water district been consulted at all in regards to dropping acreage down to 3 acres in the creation of this at all? Okay, so they have not. Okay, so it is common knowledge that the rural water district does not have the ability to add water meters to roads such as 198. There are no more meters available. Well drilling in this area is extremely difficult to acquire. It takes months, if not years, to get a well drilled here. And that success is not guaranteed. One of my neighbors has recently drilled a well and has had to have water trucked in. Not to mention last year we just went through a massive drought, but we set a record low level for the lake. So I don't understand how dropping the acreage limit down to 3 is at all compatible with the purpose of the zoning instructions from the very beginning, that opening section where it talks about the purpose and intent of the zoning instructions, preserving the land, preventing overcrowding, preserving resources. Dropping down to 3 acres is it's diametrically opposed to the opening sections of this zoning regulation. That's all I have. Which I think is why we had said we will not make the just change at this time.
We won't recommend that.
Thank you. Angela Heller, who has recommendation.
Hi, Angela. I think Mike and Matt summed up well what I think I wanted to say, but I just want to encourage you to remember the Constitution. When you go and look at things, remember to be constitutional when you're doing that. You have a lot of people in Jackson County that are fighting for their freedom, who gave up jobs and sold their farms to move to Jackson County because of the COVID shock. And now they want to screw people. You can't be telling people what to do with their land. If I want to camper on my land, I'm going to put a camper. I have farm, I ranch, I have outbuildings, I've got other things that I need to do. If my kids ended up having to quit their job, my son's a police officer, God forbid something happens to him, I gotta take the kids in, I will take them in. And I don't put them up on my property, however I see fit. That's all I say.
Jeanette Branson.
Yes, I wanted to address the recreational vehicle camper as far as temporary use or structure. A lot of us own RVs and for not just recreation, but we've done it for time living. And when we buy an RV, we buy bigger properties so that we can store our RVs. A lot of homeowners, a lot of property searchers look for properties that have RV hookups or have the ability to hook up your RVs. I've seen several properties in Jackson County that have RV hookups. That's not something that you can, that's temporary, it can be temporary use, it can be long-term use. You can have a relative, you can have a friend, you can have somebody that you let use your RV, or you have, even your house, you use your RV. It's not something that is always used for the purpose of construction. It's your property. You're allowed to store it on your property. There's no requirement for it to be inhabitable. I don't think that qualifies in that section. And then as far as the accessory dwelling unit, I definitely commend you guys for considering that. There is such a need when it comes to not just housing, but aging parents, this economy, your children, family, to be able to address those situations. But then again, when you're buying property and you're talking temporary use, temporary structures, if you're building or bringing in a tiny home or a small structure for the purpose of building a primary residence, why can't you use that structure as your accessory dwelling unit after construction is complete? Why do you have to remove it from the property, and why do you have to make it inhabitable? If you guys are actually putting in your zoning articles that you're allowing for the accessory dwelling units, which again, I commend you for.
Thank you. I'm not certain about this next name. Jeffrey